This is a song that I wrote. It had 12 verses. And I started playing it on the tour, and I never played it before because I was scared it was a little bit too personal and just a touch on the depressing side. But after a couple of gigs in, we had people going to the merchandise desk and asking for my depressing songs. So I'd like to believe that this is probably the most depressing song that I have.
You started recording, haven't you? If I have my guitar in my hand, is that?
If it makes you feel comfortable, it looks natural.
It does make me feel comfortable. Funny, isn't it? It's like a little cosy thing. Oh, my guitar's in my hand. That feels. But the funny thing is, it's not even one of those things. It's not a case of you don't decide to become a musician. I mean, there's a reason why I'm not an artist. You know, there's a reason why I'm not a milkman. But there's not really a reason why I'm a musician. I'm just. We need to film. That's what we need to do. Because when I'm explaining myself to you, that's what I should be doing on camera.
Exactly.
One of my brothers, Jamie, he'd always had this dream ever since he was a young boy to be a milkman. Living my brother's dream, on my 21st birthday, I went down to the dairy to see if I could get a job. And I met the guy, you know, the head of the dairy, and he was really quite happy to see me. And he took me into this room and said, "It's just really, it's just one of these things we have to do. Is we've just got to check that that you're capable with the simple mathematics of adding up the bill, that kind of thing. When it comes to maths, I'm fine, completely capable." Well, I thought I was completely capable. He thought I was a little bit slow on filling it in. He came into the room. He said, "Yeah, you're done yet?" And I wasn't. And I said, "Oh no, almost, very, very soon, almost done." And started, speeding up a little bit. I did them and double checked them and checked them again. Absolutely sure, 100%. This is perfect. Faultless maths test. I handed it into him. He said, "Oh no," and it just putting crosses by all my answers. And I've actually failed the maths test to be a milkman. And he was more embarrassed than I was, actually, chucking me out of the dairy. And that was on my 21st birthday. So I realised at that point that I had to go back to music and follow a career somewhere else other than in the dairy. So, not a milkman, sadly. But I've written songs that I want to play to people. And so if somebody will give me the time to actually listen and actually really go, yes, I'm going to understand where you're coming from. I'm going to try and, and get something from what I'm singing. Then that's why I do it. So it's wonderful to be given the opportunity to play to people. And if it's down the pub, if it's down in the middle of the street, if it's wherever, that's as important as playing Wembley or playing in front of a stadium of fans. And that's the other strange thing is, if the pub asked me to come down and play, I would go down and play, and that getting prepared, I would have the same routine whether I was playing Wembley or the local pub. But I'm more likely to be nervous playing down the local pub than at Wembley. It's easier to win over a crowd than to win over a handful of people. If you've got Wembley, it's easier to control a massive crowd than to win over just a few handful of people. If they're against you, it's better to have a handful of people rather than a massive crowd. if you've lost them, you don't want to lose to a massive crowd. You want to lose just to a handful of people. But it's more nerve-wracking. Certainly, when I ended up doing Les Miserables, I mean that was like working as a regular job, isn't it? You know, and in fact, the reason I did it was because I had a family at the time, and well, I still have a family, but what I meant is like I had a family to look after, and I felt the pressure of having to provide for them.
Anyway, I'll show you this. Les Mis. Now, Cameron McIntosh very kindly said that I was always welcome in the theatre for the Les Miserables, having done my 2-year stint as Valjean. So I think it may be worthwhile. I was going to say hello. Yeah, who knows? Cameron might well be in there. I'm sure we'll be welcome, whatever happens.
When I was offered the job for Les Miserables, I thought, this is brilliant. I'm going to be in London, a regular spot that you're basically keeping the family happy. You know, I'll be coming home every day, and it'd be a regular job. Yet it's still music. You know, so I thought that was quite appealing. I thought I'd be doing it for a couple of weeks, and I ended up doing it 2 years. It kind of, at the end of it all, I felt awkward because I wasn't doing anything that was truly creative, and I felt very starved creatively, and that's why I decided not to continue doing the theatre. No, I just really wasn't that happy, really, doing Les Miserables. I mean, I thought I was going to be in London, in Les Mis, and then I found myself on the tour, and then I was like, hang on, this is the same as touring with Threshold or a band like that. So to me, that was quite that was still quite disruptive family wise. And then once I was in Les Miserables, unfortunately, my family it came to a split. I mean, I also have to be quite careful because I have children and all that, and Catherine's no longer with us as well. So I have to, but I think I just have to say everything, and if it's inappropriate, then you guys can edit. So I went on tour with Les Miserables, and it was actually a tough time for me. So, which is fine. So I'm just trying to think where I'm taking this. I don't really want to be taking down a route of depressive, the worst time of my life,
But for our information, is there a particular song you wrote during that period?
Absolutely.
Which one?
Pardon me. That's, there's part of me starts, my friend, when I first, okay, sorry. I'm going to take you through these songs. These are... By the mill on the Wey Canal. There used to be a mill, which was Cox's Lock Mill, which is on the Wey navigation. We'd been taken out for a school trip down to the mill for a geography trip. I remember Steve was running ahead, and I remember I was kind of running after him, and we were ahead of the whole crowd. And I just remember him running through this mill that was now derelict and hollow. I just remember Steve just running ahead and shouting like 12-year-old kids do, 11-year-old kids, and though your laughter echoed out, the sun came up and you weren't around. And then in the evening he went home, and his brother had been clay pigeon shooting, And unfortunately, the gun. Steve had an interest in his gun, you know, and because he was his older brother and he was a boy, and so he would, you know, sort of he obviously wanted to have a look at the gun. And unfortunately, the gun went off, and so the first verse is about my friend Steve when we went to the mill, and the fact that he had the accident, which I found at the time when you're young, when you're a schoolboy, it's just surreal. You don't expect one of your friends not to come back to school, especially your best friend. And for the short time that I knew him, we were inseparable at school. And then decades pass, but you still belong. That was when I wrote that line, decades pass, but you still belong, was the fact that here I was, all these years later, he was still relevant to me. My friend dying when I was at school, it was still a relevant. Decades pass, but you still belong. Still a memory of you goes on, and though my life had just begun, you were destined not to come, to go on in life. And though I find it hard to say, but part of me was lost that day. But the second verse refers to my children. You're my son and will always be. You're the reason that I must see. I hope your dreams reach out for me. God, it's really, even when I'm like playing this now, it's like a I don't know, like it's just, you feel like you're opening yourself up far too much. You're my son and will always be. You're the reason that I must see. I hope your dreams reach out for me. So that's talking about. I refer to my son, but actually, when I'm talking about my son, I'm talking about my sons. And the worst thing about it, actually, I'm just going to be really honest here. It's really hard to talk about songs without getting emotional, because a lot of the songs, I mean, when I wrote this song, like many of my songs, I just basically spent the afternoon just weeping. And that's it. That's when I just have to weep. When I look back, when I think about everything, it's just so sad. I mean, I know that's what makes us musicians, because that's the genuine side of it, but when I start thinking about are you parted from what you want? Are you parted from what you want? Are you stumbling where once you'd run? I think of my children instantly. You think of being parted from. At the time, I kind of thought being parted from me, and now when I sing it, I always think about Now when I think about them being parted from their mother. Are you parted from what you want? Are you stumbling where once you'd run? And never know where you belong, or understand where you're coming from. And never know where you belong or understand where you're coming from. And that's me. And the third verse is even harder to talk about. Listen to the gulls. I was tired beyond belief, reached out just to search for peace. I've been kind of really working very hard with the Les Mis. When Catherine came and stayed, after staying with us for a week, she left and she just decided that she wasn't going to come back. And it's funny because it's just that is, if you, with heartache, and especially something you really have complete belief in and faith in, and when it doesn't happen, doesn't work, it's your whole world that's in pieces. There's nothing, you think that's what you live for. You've invested everything in it. But anyway, there's this I find really hard to talk about. I was tired beyond belief, reached out just to search for peace. I couldn't do anything. I felt completely restless inside. Yet I just wanted calmness and peace and nothing else other than just for the pain that I felt just to stop, just that physical pain just to stop. And not in any way to And then when she went, it's just like it's unbearable, just pain, physical, which I know everyone has and everyone goes through, but it was just too much for me. And this doesn't make any sense at all. I know completely no sense whatsoever. But I actually thought I could just disappear and just erase myself from. I thought I could just erase myself from life, really. When I was out in Bradford, they had this most amazing places, which I used to run every day, and past this the reservoir that they had there, and And around the reservoir there were all these signs, and they saying don't go in, don't attempt to swim. And the reason being is because they had undercurrents that would, sort of take you there. So once you're in, you're in. One morning I get up and go for a run. Every morning I'd actually go and drive down to the reservoir and run round this beautiful scenery. This morning I woke up and the sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. And I just decided that was it, you know. And the funny thing, as soon as I decided that was it, the pain just left completely. I felt completely not. There was, this terrible pain in my heart that was always there. Suddenly it was like I felt that I felt normal, but I felt on a mission, and I went down and went down to where I used to go every morning, down to the reservoir. I was tired beyond belief, reached out just to search for peace and breathe the water of the deep. Still my body could not find sleep. And the laughter, it seems all wrong when the sunshine becomes too strong, and all the pain that still goes on, plentiful for everyone. Though I find it hard to say, but part of me was lost that day. I'll just say, first of all, if you ever go swimming and you think actually to commit suicide, the best way is to drown, it really isn't, not at all. I can still taste the bottom of that reservoir. I can still taste it in my mouth. What happens is you basically go down to the bottom and breathe, and your body just fights it. And it's not the nicest way at all. But and then what's worse is once you've actually gone there, you kind of you just feel stupid, absolutely stupid, and you never. It actually makes perfect sense when you do it, but it actually makes no sense at all when you look back on it. Yeah, well, once you've done something like that, which is now quite some time ago, a decade's passed, and there's a lot that's changed in life. I know that I'll never ever do it again. It's like, I know that drowning isn't the best way to die, and I know that however hard life gets, I'll never ever do that again. Is this torment we should not have? I can't even play it. It's because I get emotional, that's why. I get emotional. When I get emotional, if you cry, you find that your voice just doesn't work. You get squeaky, you know. So excuse me if I get emotional, because the whole idea when you're performing, you have to always try and make sure that you don't get too emotional, because once you get emotional, you cannot perform at all. And so there's that hard thin line that between getting involved with the song and actually not getting so involved that you end up with a blubbering wreck at the end of it. But I love it when I perform. I absolutely love it because every time I go on stage and perform a song like Part of Me, for example, or any of my acoustic songs, and often also other songs too. It's not just songs that I've written. Sometimes you can get very involved with a song that perhaps I haven't written, but I relate to. But there's nothing better than losing yourself in a song. It's wonderful. And the happiest moments of my life have been with an acoustic guitar and a cup of tea and just losing myself. That's perfection to me. That's there's nothing, no greater moment in life than that. And I guess that's why I'm a musician, because that's that's when I feel complete.
By the mill on the Wey Canal, we'd shouted and run about, and though your laughter echoed out, the sun came up and you weren't around. Decades pass, but you still belong. Still a memory of you goes on, and though my life had just begun, you were destined not to come. Though I find it hard to say, but part of me was lost that day. You're my sun and will always be. You're the reason that I must see. I hope your dreams reach out for me. When I look, I just have to weep. Are you parted from what you want? Are you stumbling where once you'd run, and never know where you belong, or understand where you're coming from? Though I find it hard to say, but part of me was lost that day. I was tired beyond belief, reached out just to search for peace and breathe the water of the deep. Still my body could not find sleep. When the laughter, it seems all wrong, when the sunshine becomes too strong, and all the pain that still goes on, plentiful for everyone. Though I find it hard to say, but part of me was lost that day. Is this torment we should not have? Is this grief that is not of man? And still our lives seem out of hand. One day will we understand. If we learn from the days that pass. If we learned, would we ever ask? And can it truly control us? Should we fear what we haven't lost? Though I find it hard to say, but part of me was made that way.